Please close your eyes and begin to take some long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more peace and light entering your body and your mind. And with every exhale, feel like you're able to let go of anything that you do not want. All tension easily draining away from you as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it safely, gently, and easily burns away everything that is not like itself, leaving us safe, peaceful, and serene. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us here, our Creator reveals themselves to be a goddess and God, a mother and father. Into this space, we also invite the presence of our guides, our angels, our teachers. We dedicate this space to one another and to them, and we ask that we be guided and led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, more peaceful, more prosperous, more healthy, more wise, and more loving people. Thank you very much. And if it's appropriate for you to do so, you can join me in saying out loud, "Blessed be." I'd like to discuss the topic of prayer today. It's not something that we talk about too often, and it's such an important topic. The idea of prayer is something that can be a bit of a bugaboo for a lot of people because certain religious systems have co-opted the term. And so a lot of times people shy away from prayer because it's not got a healthy connotation. But don't let that happen for you. Don't rob yourself of the benefits of prayer just because certain religions and groups of people have tried to co-opt that term. Before we talk about the actual mechanics of prayer, I'd like to discuss where you come from. It's my understanding that you are an extension of love. You are an extension of light. There is one creative force in all the universe. Many people call that creative force God, but this is a pre-gender force. It's not a masculine force. It's not a feminine force. It's before gender was split. And it's a singular force. And there's only one. And you're part of it. We're all part of it. And there's no separation. There's no place where you stop and it starts. And you are a unique and individual extension and expression of that force. And we talk about this force in terms of different qualities of spirit. I've had a couple of lectures on those qualities that you can listen to if that's interesting to you. But the idea that you're separate from this force, that you're all alone somehow, is an idea that we adopted a long time ago. And that happened as a result of a contemplation of arrogance that is oftentimes in this path that I work with, called Lucifer. And Lucifer, in that particular perspective, was the idea of arrogance. And then that idea of arrogance recognized its mistake and corrected it. And so from many religious points of view, there were two battling forces, Lucifer, and then Christ came to sort of battle Lucifer in the War of Armageddon, and all then was conquered Lucifer. But that's not really the case, because Lucifer and Christ are the same being. Lucifer is the first arrogance, and Christ is the correction of that arrogance and the salvation of all the souls that bought into that arrogance. So the creation of this ego mind was a result of the arrogance of thinking all by oneself, trying to separate oneself from infinite intelligence. And the atonement, if you will, is the remembrance that none of that happened, that that was just a mistake. It didn't ever happen, and all is well. And that's what salvation means. It's just a memory that, oh, everything's okay. None of that happened. None of the drama that we're experiencing as a result of that separation is really happening. It's a nightmare that we can wake up from. It's that simple. Magic, as we understand it in this path that I walk, is the science of the Magi. And it's that memory of who we are as souls. And it's the technology that we use to find ourselves back in our truth, which is that we are one with all that is, and that everything is wonderful, and that there are no different paths, and there are no different religions, and there are no good and evil, and all is well. So when we pray, we are trying to align ourselves with that truth. We're not really trying to change circumstances. We're trying to align ourselves with the truth where all those circumstances are already healed. It's already happened. Prayer is something that anybody can do. You don't have to have specialized knowledge. You don't have to study for years and become, quote, adept in order to benefit from prayer. Prayer is something that is an ability that you were created with, because it's just the memory that you aren't separate. It's the memory that you have a connection with your source. Many people call that source God, but you don't have to call it God. It's beyond names. Language is a barrier. Words are just symbols of symbols. So the best thing that you can come up with when you're trying to name something is a symbol to talk about another symbol. Because the truth is beyond words. That's what occult means. It's hidden because it's beyond the tools that we have available to us in this world of separation. So we just do our best with the tools that we have. So if you like the word God, you go ahead and use it. If you like something else, you use that. Because infinite intelligence, or that source, isn't picky. It's the most natural thing in the world for you to pray. Prayer is simply just the quieting of your mind, becoming silent, and finding a peaceful attitude, the best that you can reach for. You don't have to be perfect at it. The best that you can reach for, and trying to find and see and experience the good in anything. So if you're praying about a problem, it's learning to quiet your mind and body and seek for the good in that situation that's already there. And it's finding that attitude within your mind and in your heart that knows that no matter what your apparent problem is, that there is a solution, and that solution has already been given you. And that it's through peace and quiet contemplation that you are allowing it to reveal itself to you. You don't have to find God. You just have to allow yourself to remove the barriers that you've placed in front of you to the awareness of God, because God never left you, never will leave you. And so just the knowing of this is a great comfort. The problem is that so many people throughout the centuries have tried to use God and prayer as a device of separation, as a device of conquering, as a device of manipulation and control, that we're afraid of the very things that are going to help us. And that's no mistake. That's exactly how the ego works. The ego works by placing barriers in front of us so that we can't get the help that we need. Because if we were able to get the help we needed, the ego would cease to be. And the ego, since we created it ourselves, that whole Luciferian experience is something that we did. That Lucifer is simply a name for a part of our own mind. which is both arrogant and a savior. And so the ego mind has its own survival instinct because we created it. And it doesn't want to die. But see, the thing is that it doesn't exist. So it can't die because it doesn't live. You can't kill the ego because it's not there, but we believe it's there. So the ego has set up an illusion for us of many thousands of years of religious persecutions in order for us to either use the ideas of prayer in ways that actually reinforce separation, or to avoid them altogether because we don't want to be involved in that because it's so negative. When in reality, prayer has nothing to do with what many religions will teach you. Prayer is, like I said, simply turning and finding the solution that already exists within you. It's allowing you to recognize that you never left God's presence. You never left God's presence. You never did separate. None of this ever happened. And prayer is just sitting and contemplating that you have that connection and that presence always available to you. And part of the difficulty that we have with prayer is just the quieting of our mind, the quieting of our resistance to the idea that all is well, that we already are one with our source. It's not some strange, occult, mystical activity that only very well-trained people have access to. It's a very simple, natural, normal function of the mind. When we align ourselves with that natural, normal function of our mind, we notice that we automatically are drawn to it. We are automatically compelled toward it. And that prayerfulness is actually where we want to live. We want to dwell there naturally. And those resistances to that natural state of being are the imposter, are the parts of our minds that we have allowed ourselves to become accustomed to and to tolerate and to even miss if it's not there, like a Stockholm syndrome. We miss the ego once the ego's been quieted because we feel like it's somehow going to save us and help us in some way or another. You see, Lucifer is not the ego. The ego is something that we created as a result of accepting the arrogance of Lucifer. Lucifer is actually the salvation of that. And it can be very challenging for people to understand that. It's just why, if that idea of arrogance that happened in the first place, why would that be the place that we get our salvation? Because it's the natural function of the mind to heal. So Lucifer not only represents that place in time where we became arrogant and tried to think all by ourselves and separated ourselves from our good, but it's also the place wherein the mind healed itself already. And so that's why in that idea of Christianity, when people think of the resurrection, that Jesus died for their sins, they misunderstand what that means. It simply means that Lucifer already figured it out. Lucifer already corrected its mistake, already atoned for it, already did all this, so we don't have to. That's all that means. We don't have to because the lesson's already been learned. All we have to do is accept it. And that's what prayer is for. Prayer is simply to accept the fact that we are well. Our mind is whole. We are not ill. We are not separated. That's why prayer can change any condition in our lives. Not because it's going out and changing things for us, but because through prayer we are able to access that place in our minds where we already have the solutions. They're already there. You need money? The money's already there. You need healing? The healing's already occurred. You need a resolution to a conflict? Oh, that was resolved already the second that it came up. But the ego doesn't want us to remember that. The ego doesn't want us to understand that Lucifer atoned for Lucifer's mistake the second it happened. and it's already been taken care of. The ego wants us to stay mired in the mistake, wants us to stay mired in the separation. So if you are feeling unhappy, it's not because that's your lot in life. It's not because you deserve to be unhappy. It's because you are believing those erroneous ideas within your mind that you have a reason to be unhappy, that something is wrong in your life, that you are separated. Because the ego can point to all kinds of reasons why you should be unhappy. The ego can point to all kinds of problems that appear to be absolutely unsolvable, and that's why you should be afraid. But if you can learn how to turn in prayer and find that still, peaceful abode inside your mind wherein you have connection with infinite intelligence, with your source, you can access the place wherein all of those things have already been healed and corrected. I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up in prayer, is they think maybe my prayer needs to go out and fix things for me. No, your prayer is simply there to align you to where the answer has already been given. So if you have resentments, if you have bitternesses regarding somebody, prayer can get you to that place in your mind where those things have already been resolved, so that you experience the peace and love and forgiveness that already exists within you. If you're afraid of things, prayer can bring you back to that place in your mind where all of that fear has already been transformed, where you recognize that there is nothing to fear. And that courage is just normal. It's just natural for you. If you're experiencing illness in your body or in your mind, that prayer can find that place in your mind where those things have already been healed. If you're lacking finances, if you have horrible debts, prayer can help you to access that place in your mind where those bills have already been paid, where those debts have already been wiped out. It's an inner line of communication between you and infinite intelligence, between you and that which creates you. Because remember that you're being created in the moment. That's where we get really tripped up. We think, infinite intelligence, I can get that. It created me back in time. Isn't that wonderful? But then that sort of gives you this impression that, and then forgot about you, and then left you alone, and then went about its business, and now you have to go somehow find it again, like a needle in a haystack. But see, if you understand that you're being created now, you are constantly in the process of being created, of being an extension. You're always expanding. You're always growing. That's what's happening. It makes it easier for you to understand that through prayer you can find that connection, because it's what's keeping you alive. And I don't only mean keeping your body alive, I mean keeping you alive as a soul. And it's eternal, and it can never stop. So there's that inner line of communication between you and that creative force, that wisdom, that understanding, that inspiration, that awareness that you are a spirit. You are spirit. That's what you are. You're not a body. You're not a personality. Those things are things that you have in this particular time-space continuum, in this dimension, and they can serve you here. It's not that they're bad. Your personality is not bad. Your body's not bad. But when we identify with the personality in the body, we are identifying with something that seems separate from its creator, and that's when we get stuck in fear. But through prayer, you can understand that your body and your personality are not who you are. They are just devices. They are just tools for you in this world, and that who you are and what you are is spirit. And spirit can never be destroyed. Just a few moments in prayer can get you into this place if you understand what prayer is. The quieting of your mind. It's the quieting of your body. Listening. Experiencing the divine presence. Experiencing that place where you are at this instant being created. That fire of wisdom that you are. Finding that silence, acknowledging the presence of infinite intelligence, and that's happening within you. It's not something far away. It's happening within you right now. I think a lot of people think that they were created and then just shot out and dropped off on the earth at some point. Through prayer, you can recognize that's an erroneous idea. Through prayer, you can recognize that you are one with infinite intelligence and that you are so much bigger than anything that you thought you could possibly be, that you are a spiritual giant. So that memory of who you are comes shooting back to you, to your conscious mind. It flashes across your mind as you sit in stillness and you contemplate these things. And the memory of who you are then really can outshadow any concept of you as a small, separated self, as a self with problems, as a self with fears. And that's how you become blessed, is by recognizing the blessedness that already exists within you. It's an attitude that you carry. When you're praying, it's an attitude that you carry, that attitude of peacefulness, of oneness. And the effectiveness of your prayer is not incumbent upon some special technique. The effectiveness of your prayer is simply the ability for you to think of nothing but infinite intelligence and your connection with it. Relaxing and being at peace and one with it. And this is an eternal thing. And a lot of people think, I don't know how to pray. You do. You do. You do know how to pray. And it's because you think that it's supposed to be some complicated thing that you think you don't know how to pray. It's the simplest thing that there possibly could be. It's closing your eyes to the world for a moment, relaxing your body as best as you can, and quieting your mind as best as you can, and turning your attention to the qualities of the infinite as best as you can. And that's all there is to it. If you have a problem, you can bring that problem into the prayer with you and take that problem and give it to that presence that you find within you to the best of your ability, and pivot your mind from the problem to the qualities of infinite intelligence and start contemplating them. That's it. Being still and listening. Nobody knows how to pray like you do. The way that you pray, the way that you are led to pray is the right way. Nobody gets to tell you, oh no, that's not real prayer. You'll know if it's real if you feel peaceful. You'll know that it's real if you feel better. And then you'll start seeing results of your prayer in your experiences, in your life. We learn this in Psalm Magic all the time, that our goal isn't to heal the problem. Our goal is to find peace, a sense of peace and certainty about the problem. And then the problem takes care of itself because we've taken ourselves out of that altogether. We've allowed infinite intelligence to do its work through us. But our goal isn't to go out and fix the problem, even in magic or prayer. Our goal is to find peace and certainty about the problem. And some people misunderstand that, and they think, oh, that just means that I'm going to be able to put up with it better. No, you find peace and certainty about the problem, and that is the vehicle through which the problem is solved. Because remember, the problem was solved the moment it was created. So we don't have to do anything other than allow that solution to reveal itself. And the way that we allow that solution to reveal itself is to find peace. Don't ever feel bad about yourself. Don't ever feel bad about yourself. If you feel bad about yourself, that's a good time to start praying. You feel bad about yourself, you feel guilty about something you did, you feel inadequate, you feel less than. That's an indication that it's time to pray. Meaning, quiet your mind, close your eyes, and start contemplating infinite intelligence and find that place where you're being created. Then you'll realize God didn't make any junk. God didn't mess up with me. I'm not a mistake. All those erroneous ideas about myself that might have informed some bad behavior in the past, they've already been corrected. And so have the consequences of those mistakes that I made. It's already been corrected as well. My job in praying is simply to get out of the way, quiet my mind, and remember who I am, and allow the peace and certainty of infinite intelligence to wash over my experience right now so that those solutions can just reveal themselves. Remember that prayerful people are illumined. They are inspired. They're courageous. They're strong, and they are adepts. So the more you can become prayerful, the more you accept your role as one of the meek. And that's how you inherit the earth. You inherit the earth because your strength takes it over. What can be more strong than a pure extension of the infinite? And that's who you are. That's what you are. And you may not be experiencing yourself as that right now. That's okay. That's part of being in this awful experience of feeling separated. But the good news is that it's not the truth. You're not separated. So that awful experience is a bad dream, but you can wake up from that dream, and you do that by going into prayer, closing your eyes, relaxing your mind, relaxing your body, and allowing yourself to be one with that infinite spirit that is the source of who you are, who is creating you right now. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be.